Good.
Welcome back to One of the Trenches podcast. I'm Johnny Jones. He's Patches Kaplan. We're talking season 2 of the podcast, week 1 of the college football season. How we feeling, Patch?
Johnny, is there, let me start over. Has there been a better week 1 in your lifetime?
No.
No.
I think the game that sticks out to me is I got pretty hyped for USC Alabama when USC was like they had like all the like they were acting like dogs and they like holding them all back, and then they like lost by like maybe 45 points.
They did.
So
Yeah, I think it's 52-6.
Yeah, no, 52-6 sounds perfect. So that's what I think of, but nothing like this slate ahead of us. Nothing like
I'll never forget when I realized how good week 1 can be. It was when Clemson was kind of starting their downturn, and they played Georgia, and the score was 9-3 or 6-3 or 12-6. No touchdowns were scored, offensive touchdowns. And I was like, it was the Monday night game, and I was like, geez, like, this is a fun game to watch. Like, I'm a defense guy, and I still thought it was tough to watch. But no, I can't remember a time. I don't think historically there's ever been a 1 versus 2, which I will share my opinion on preseason. That's obviously not anyone's fault because the schedules are made 2 or 3 years in advance. No one knew there would be 1 or 2. But I'm blown away by the top 10 matchups. The better yet than top 10 is the Blue Bloods. There's teams that are going to be playing each other that like are so historic. And one of the things I love about college football is there's so much history that like, our dads will remember the Notre Dame Miami bowl games.
Convicts,
exactly. And Alabama versus Florida State, it's not going to live up this year, but boy, is that going to be
uniform. Just uniform matchups. It's going to look just so appeasing,
Oh, it's going to be just so beautiful to watch. I can't wait. My butt is going to be stuck to the couch for 4 days straight. I'm going to have a bowl of French onion dip next to me, some M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, of course. Maybe some sour Skittles to change up the texture. But I cannot wait for 9 o'clock when that college game day song goes on. The chills are going to be going up and down my back.
Oh, 100%. Like, that's my entire plan for Saturday. I have to give a shout-out to my dad's birthday on Saturday.
Happy birthday, Mr. Jones.
We're going to get a ton of takeout, just sit down and watch football all day. So, pretty excited. But
what's the over-under on Coca-Colas you're going to drink?
Oh, maybe 7.5. 7.5. Be so caffeined out, but by the time the late night, not anymore, but it used to be Pac-12 after dark game comes on, I'll be jittering to go.
You'll be trying to go to bed. Your eyes are going to be wide awake.
It's be so jacked up from the whole day.
Colorado State versus Fresno State or something.
Oh, something unbelievable. The Hawaii game late night. I know that played like
crazy.
Before we get to week 1, let's talk a little about week 0 and mainly just Kansas State, Iowa State. What are your initial thoughts on that game? Obviously, Iowa State pulled it out, but what did you think?
It was exactly what I thought. And one of the reasons I dislike week 0, and I don't know if I did a good enough job explaining why I don't like week 0, is that these guys are still not ready for the season yet. They're still not conditioned. They're still sore from camp. They still got the camp legs. All of that stuff comes into play, and you saw it in the first half. There's 4 turnovers total. Some absolutely abysmal football, a fumbled punt, a fumbled toss. Also, don't statistics and analysis say that a halfback toss or just like a speed toss is the most inefficient play nowadays with the fumble risk, with the behind the arc scrimmage?
Take that out of the equation. What about it was on the goal line? They ran toss on the goal line, fumbled. I was like, it's the same thing that Texas used to say. And Bill Belichick, Johnny, always used to say how when you enter the red zone, it's a different football game. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And when I was younger, I was like, I don't understand it. The play calls are the same. Yes, you can't run a deep ball, but things are different in the red zone. And you need to be smarter. And you got to have plays drawn up that are going to work. And in my opinion, you should never be going backwards. I hated that. That first half was exactly what I thought it would be. Kansas State was exactly what I thought it could be. I was right about Iowa State, though. They did exactly what I thought. They leaned on their linemen. They ended up running the ball very, very effectively. And I think that's what, that's not what decided the game. That really bad call to go for it on 4th and 1 and their quarterback getting rocked. That was the deciding factor. I thought, and this is all of it, like we could expect this being at week 0, but it was a really sloppy game from both sides. I also think it really kind of took the wind out of KSU sails. That fumbled punt, Dylan Edwards is their star running back. Him getting hurt that play and not being available the rest of the game, that was definitely a huge gut punch. But, I have to commend Iowa State just finding a way to win, because Rocco Beck, not his best game, 14 for 28 for 183, getting sacked.
I feel like that doesn't paint the whole picture, though, because if you look at Avery Johnson's stats, his stats are extremely padded as well. But on the flip side of that.
Yeah. No, I know. He threw for 270. But 4 sacks. That offensive line didn't look great in the first half. They were able to figure it out. Carson Hansen had I think 70 to 100, something like that. He ran it really effectively in the second half, number 26 for Iowa State. So it was a bit of a clunky game, but Iowa State found a way to win, and that's kind of what you need in week 0. It doesn't have to be pretty.
Do you like opening up with a rival with a in-conference game, or would you rather cupcakes?
It depends if I'm coaching or watching, but coaching is really tough. Coaching, I feel like coming out the gates with a game like that is it's so emotional, especially playing in Ireland too. It's kind of just a weird setup for both teams, but I don't know.
Yeah,
if you get the win.
Interesting. Iowa State's got a tough September because they're now going to host South Dakota State, I believe. Yep. I think it might just be South Dakota.
Just South Dakota.
South Dakota is still really, really good FCS team. And then they go to Iowa, which is an incredibly hard 3 weeks. And then I think they have a bye. But I don't know. Part of me loves the preseason. It's not preseason. The early in-conference games. I think they started kind of make or break a season, which is awesome if you take a step back and think about it. But my opinion. I don't like how a single game in week 0 in early August can define a team's success. I don't think that Kansas State is down and out. I don't think that Iowa State has locked up the conference. Yeah. That first half, I didn't think that either of those teams were a top 5 Big 12 team.
It was bad.
But I do think that, great coaches, they're just going to get better come Columbus Day weekend. They'll be rolling on all fours. And I do think that those are 2 teams that we could see play again.
Totally agree. Let's move on to week 1 then. Where do you want to start? The game noon?
We'll start with the big one. We have Lee Corso is making his way to Columbus for his last college game day. It's incredibly sad.
Brings a tear to my eye, man. Legend of the game.
It's, as far back as I can remember, remember his headgear starts coming out and those picks are coming. You run as fast as you can to the living room to see who he's picking. Never fails to put a smile on my face.
World-class, just entertainer.
No, it's ungodly how much he made that show. I hope that the head picks end with his retirement. But it is going to be different. But boy, am I excited for college game day to go to Ohio State. It's going to be electric. That game, I have gone back and forth so many times. And part of me is saying that I hate cliches in football. I absolutely hate cliches in football. We don't rebuild, we reload.
Yeah.
It was cool in 2007. It's not cool anymore. No. But with that being said, I don't know if Ohio State ever does rebuild. I do think that they just reload. They have Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, and they have a really, really good tight end. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Decent O-line. Julian Sayin was, I think, the number 2 recruit in the nation 2 years ago. Has had some really good maturity. They speak very, very highly of him. On the flip side, we have some of the best defensive linemen in the country at Texas. Yeah. One of the best pass rushes, one of the best run-stopping linebackers. The front 7 is just ungodly. And I keep going back and forth saying, all they got to do is throw, jump balls to Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith had 1 catch against Texas last year. And it's tough to say where this game is going to go. And for that reason, I'm just going to preface this that I have no intentions on betting that game because I have no idea. I could very well see a 31-21 Ohio State. I could very easily see a 49-40 Texas in 3 overtimes. I have no idea what to expect. There seems to be a calmness around that game in terms of the players. It seems like everyone's very, very confident in what they have and who they have going. When it comes down to these coin flip games, Johnny, I like to lean on coaches. Yep. And I would like to believe that Ryan Day is a better coach than Sark.
Yeah.
But, huge but here, I think that the championship hangover is going to be in effect, and Texas has this grittiness to them of that, hey, we've gone very, very close 2 years in a row. This is our year, and we're not going to let this team in Ohio stop us. And I think they start the year 1-0.
Yeah, no, I agree where this could definitely be a coin flip. I'm going to have to go the other way, though, just for a couple of reasons that I wrote down. First off, ultimate respect to Texas. I think they've got an unbelievable defense. Awesome offense, too. But defense, just with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill Jr., what they're able to do getting to the quarterback and stopping the run is amazing. But I do think they're going to struggle offensively. Texas is replacing 4 of their 5 offensive linemen, and they're going against, I think, the best defensive line coach in the country in Larry Johnson. He's been around for a million years, and he just always reloads that Ohio State D-line. Chase Young, the Bosas, they just always have dudes coming up, and I think he's just a great, great D-line coach, and I think he's going to get to Arch Manning. But that's not even the strength of their defense. Their linebacking core is phenomenal with Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. And then Caleb Downs might be the best safety matchup. Also, this could be the best safety head-to-head in the country for the whole season with Caleb Downs on Ohio State and then Michael Taffy on Texas, 2 unbelievable safeties. So I think they're going to get to Arch. And this is a Texas offense that really struggled with X-plays last year. Like, Texas is going to really need to use Ryan Wingo down the field because they could not extend the field last year. And I think that really cost them in a couple of games, including that Ohio State-Texas playoff game last year. So I think that's a big thing.
I'm sorry, not to interrupt you here. Where I struggle on Ohio State's odds to win this game is running the ball. I think they're going to struggle tremendously running the ball. And if they can't lean on the run, they're going to make it Julian saying so unbelievably uncomfortable that it'll be really tough to rebound off that.
I just think they have so many weapons. Like, I think Max Clare, All-American tight end out of
so are you saying that you could throw a pass against Texas's defense?
No, but I'm just saying Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Max Clare, they've got studs on the outside. I think if they can get the ball out quick in that first half, that's going to open up the run game late. And I do think James Peebles and CJ Donaldson's really good. Obviously not the 2-man crew they had last year at Ohio State, but I think those are 2 talented running backs. I think if they can get a couple quick passes going in that first half, get some completions, I think Texas defense is going to have to back off, and that's going to open up the run game for some chunk plays in the second half. So I do think Ohio State obviously got home field advantage. I do think that will help them in the second half. They're going to win this game.
Yeah, I think the coaching staff in Texas is too good. I think that, 2 new defensive or an offensive and defensive coordinator, both new for Ohio State, Brian Hartline being in the program for a couple of years, and then Matt Patricia, an NFL guy, there's definitely going to be a learning curve in that kind of sense. But I just see that Texas is going to dominate the line of scrimmage. We see time and time again what dominating the line of scrimmage does for teams. Notre Dame against Georgia last year, Notre Dame against the second half of Penn State just dominated the line of scrimmage. That first 3 yards was completely owned by them. And we'll talk about Notre Dame in a little bit, but I just see how I think Texas is going to just be bigger, stronger, and just have a little bit more going with a more dynamic quarterback. And that's where I'm going. I think, at a neutral site, I think Texas would be a 3-point favorite. It's at the Horseshoe. Therefore, it's Ohio State -0.5. So they think it's a 1-point game, which is crazy. But like I said, I think this game could go so many different ways. And for that reason, I'm excited to watch. I have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be unbelievable. I think Ohio State, but, that's why they play the game.
Oh, yeah. Moving on, we have I wouldn't say it's a rivalry, but definitely 2 historic programs, Alabama versus Florida State. Alabama's coming off their first 4-loss season, probably since 2006. Looking to grow with Kalen DeBoer. Ty Simpson was named the quarterback for that team. Another SEC team that literally could not run the ball the last 6 games of the year, which is just a crazy thought with who they had on that offensive line and who they had with the dynamic dynamic running quarterback. 14.5 is a lot, Johnny.
It's a lot of points. It's a lot of points, especially
it's at Florida State, correct?
I think so. I could be wrong. I can look it up. Keep talking while I do.
But it's a game where I have, Florida State has this weird swagger to them pretty much every single year. Everyone was wrong about them last year, thinking they were going to win the ACC. I don't know about Bama. The ESPN, I saw it today when I was watching the Boise State game, which is currently airing right now.
Florida State is home.
That's what I thought. It was saying that Alabama is their number 2 ranked power team in the FBI, which I just thought was crazy. Obviously, they have incredible talent. They finally got their offensive coordinator back. He's been with Kalen DeBoer for a very long time. I have no idea what to expect. This is another one where the line hasn't moved in months. It's been 14.5 for, I think, 3.5 months. So that goes to show that I don't think, it's pretty set. Could go either way, but I'm leaning towards Florida State here in terms of covering. I think it's a closer game than people make it out to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Florida State definitely got better. And I do have to read a quote from Castellanos, the Florida State quarterback, transferred from BC. He did say a couple months ago, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. And then reference that at BC didn't have the talent around him. Now he does have the talent. I love the confidence. I don't know. I just think that's why poke the bear. I really just think Alabama's better.
Is Bama the bear though, Johnny?
Against Florida State, they are. Against Florida State.
Against Oklahoma, they weren't.
I think they're better up front on both sides of the ball.
I would agree. I think Florida's definitely got some dogs. Florida State's definitely got some dogs. That quote is absolutely crazy. If it's something to say in May is just an asinine thing. What do you think the involvement of Gus Malzahn as their offensive coordinator? He's a national championship winning coach. He's now the offensive coordinator at FSU. Where do you think?
Well, I'll say it if you want me to say it. He's beaten Bama 3 times at Auburn. He beat Bama, I think, 17, 19, 21, if I read that correctly.
Wasn't he the kick six?
Yeah. Yeah, no. He can beat Bama. I don't think he can beat Bama with this roster. I think Alabama's defense is really strong. I think it's one of the best.
Would you be shocked if they beat Bama?
So shocked. I would be shocked.
Like out of 10, like you're saying this is a 9 out of 10, like for a surprise factor.
I'd say
if Florida State wins this game.
7. I think that they're talented. I just really think they're going to struggle up front. Castellanos, I saw him play SMU at the Fenway Bowl. Shout out Red Sox this year. They're firing on all cylinders right now. But
7-3 in the last 10.
Awesome. Just swept the Orioles. But he can run. I just think he's going to struggle passing it. I think Bama is just so like LT Overton, Saab up front. They're going to get to him. They're going to make him run. And I just don't think they have enough defensively to stop Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson will struggle. He'll show some green. But I don't know. I just think Ryan
Williams. You think Alabama's a top 5 team?
No. What did I have them ranked in our first episode? No, I had them at 7. I had them 7 in my preseason. What do you think they're top 5?
Top 5, no. I think they might be top 12. I think somehow they're going to get into the playoffs. There's a couple of teams that have some of the in the SEC has some of the easiest paths to the playoffs. I don't think Bama's one of them, and I think that schedule is going to go into play. That we're going to see a situation like Indiana's last year is not going to play out this year, if that makes any sense. Where we have I'm making something up right here, like a Mizzou team that goes 10-2 and a Bama team that goes, possibly, or South Carolina goes 8-4, where they put in South Carolina over a 10-2 Mizzou simply because of the schedule. Bama plays some really, really good teams. They have a tough road schedule this year. I think that they could be a top 12 team in terms of the power rankings. I think they might get left out of the playoffs because I could see a couple losses on their schedule. They have a couple of teams that are on their revenge tour with them. I think that they're just too unpredictable. I think that, they're off, people are really coming back to their offensive coordinator. I'll believe it when I see it. I do think that that's a tough spot to start with Ty Simpson. He has waited his time, but that's not an easy game to go into. It's not an easy team to lead. Excited to see them play, but I'm not rooting for them in any sense of the word. I'm not a Kalen DeBoer fan the way I thought I was with how they played last year. I thought they were a well-coached team in Washington with him. So I was very surprised to see some of the mental errors, some of the offensive
penalties were crazy.
I think they were the number 1 penalized team in the SEC last year.
It cost them a couple games. Yeah.
And when you have the inconsistency that they did last year, that's so frustrating to watch because you see the upside where you could say, like, realistically, that Bama at their best could have been in the national championship.
Well, yeah, and I think going into this season, I think when you said, do you think they're a top 5 team? I think they're a top 5 talented team, but I just don't think it's going to pan out.
No, it takes a lot. And, there's a couple other teams who have really obtainable winning record-winning schedules. Illinois is one of them. But you go to say, like, Bama's been there. Bama knows how to act when they're 8-0, when they're 7-1, when they, have the season around, they're wrapped around their fingers. And, I know this is going off the rails a little bit, but Illinois does not. Brett Bielema's never been in that type of situation.
Yeah,
what happens if Illinois is 5-0? Right, and college game days there for Indiana, or college game days, with them at Ohio State. Can they come and perform? Because they had a great opportunity against Oregon and last year, and they absolutely laid an egg. It looked like they didn't even show up to the game. It looked like they were Beverly High School.
But okay, come on, don't say that. But I will say they looked pretty good against Penn State going into that whiteout energy game. They were undefeated. They lost 21-7. They had some composure. I think also Luke Altmaier is a really good quarterback. So
he's experienced.
I'm high on Illinois this year, and they have an easy schedule.
No, they do. I'm just concerned that for the first time in the playoffs time, we are going to see teams who have a better schedule, more losses get in simply because of what happened with Indiana last year. Even though I truly do think Indiana was a really, really good team. And I think even if they had schedules similar to Penn State, it would have had similar results as Penn State or Ohio State. Because Ohio State didn't play shit. They didn't play anyone.
Yeah.
And but where I'm going with this, I think that where I want to go with this, is that the SEC announced that they're playing 9 games starting, I think, next year, 9 in-conference games. It's interesting because it's definitely a counter action to the Big Ten asking for 24 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, I hate all the politics of the playoff. Just give us 12, 16. I don't care. 24 seems like a bit much, but 12, 16, I think that's perfect. Let's just keep it there. Why?
It's weird. It's weird why they're doing it, because they're trying to even out the schedule across the board. They're trying to say hey, my 2 losses in the Big Ten equal your 2 losses in the SEC. And I don't know what world we think in where that will ever truly make sense. We'll never see perfect unison. Completely balanced between the SEC and the Big Ten. So playing 9 or 10 games, where I do think it's cool though, is it eliminates that cupcake game before their rivalry week. I hate
that. I hate an FCS game in week 8 or week 9. It's come on, what are we doing at this point?
Yeah, no, I absolutely hated that. I do think we're not gonna talk about our picks, but I think that Florida State Bama game is a lot closer than it may seem. I think that they could hold on in the first half. I haven't looked at the first half lines, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-possession game going into the halftime. Heading to the real Death Valley, Clemson hosts LSU. LSU has not won a home opener since 2019. If you think back on it, I believe they have double losses to FSU in 2020, and then
USC.
That was last year.
Yeah.
They lost to UCLA in 2020.
Wow.
Followed that up with a loss against FSU and Brian Kelly's home opener with the weirdest field goal PAT.
Yeah, I remember that. That was weird.
Followed by another brutal loss against Travis, Jordan Travis and FSU's 13-0.
Oh season. Yeah.
That last year's crazy upset where they just got outgunned, outstrengthed against USC.
Kyron Hudson, current Nittany Lion, had to sick that one-handed catch. He's falling back and 8 guys on. It was best catch of the year, but no one thinks about it because it was week 1. But that was crazy. That was
that game lost me a lot of money. I had a lot of money on LSU because I said there's just no way that USC is going to come out guns blazing. But that USC I think is going to be a preview of what we're going to see this year. We're not even going to talk about them very much today. We might next week. But LSU loses 6 home opener or 6 season openers in a row.
Yeah, I want to preface this with nothing against this LSU team. I like this LSU team. I think they're going to really compete in the SEC. I think they got a lot better
because of schedule or because of talent.
From talent, I think the defense is good. Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins are 2 elite linebackers.
Whit Weeks is a good player. Don't get me wrong. I think their defense has so much to come by. And it's not a Brian Kelly team.
They were so hurt last year. And I do think Ryleford and Pyburn are really good DNs, and they really struggled getting to the quarterback last year. And I think that's going to be not a problem for them this year. And I think Nuss and company will do enough offensively. They lost a lot of from their receiving core counting tight ends. But Tavion, what's the guy's name?
Are you talking doing enough to get the win for this Saturday? Or are you talking enough?
No, doing it in the SEC schedule. Like when it comes to the year, like Nick Anderson from Oklahoma, Chris Hilton, Kavion Thomas, like they're going to do enough for what Brian Kelly wants that system to look like, but not nearly enough for this week. This Clemson team, I think, is the second best team in the country. I think the defense are monsters. Peter Woods, TJ Parker up front, and then offensively, like that trio of wide receivers they have, Wesco, Moore, and Williams. I like that freshman running back they have. Defensively, Avion Thomas is a beast, or Avion Tyrell at cornerback. Like this Clemson team is so stacked. Cade Klubnik just has to steer the ship. He doesn't need to hit the gas, hit the brake, just needs to steer it. And I think that's going to be way too much for LSU this weekend.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that I read something about Clemson having a top 10 group for almost every platform. Top 10 wide receiver core, top 10 offensive line, top 10 defense, top 10 quarterback, top 10 wide receiver. Great coordinators. Tom Allen, former Indiana coach, former Penn State coordinator. I almost think there was some plan there by Tom Allen a little bit, right? He thought Penn State was it last year. He was very, very close. He had coached a hell of a season. Now he's going to probably the one or two power ranked teams. I think he could get a national championship in Clemson. I'm curious to see if they're going to live up to the hype, because they are getting hyped a little bit. But when you review the way they ended last year, they weren't that good. They just played a little bit better against Texas than what we anticipated. So I would like to believe that Clemson is going to dominate this game, in part because I am not an LSU believer. I think LSU drops 4 games, and then Brian Kelly is eating Thanksgiving as a fired coach. But I don't know where to go with this one. I think that Clemson, the pressure, just like I was talking about with Illinois, I think the pressure on Clemson to go 12-0 is going to be a little bit daunting to them. And I think that we see an absolutely terrible first half. I do think that they get the win. I think they lean on their defense. Nuss won't be able to throw it very much. I think they get after him tremendously. Dabo's a better coach than Brian Kelly. I don't think anyone's going to argue that whatsoever.
No.
But this is a revenge tour. This is the revitalization of Dabo's legacy in Clemson, which is such a crazy idea that we have gone so far that we just referenced Gus Malzahn as a national championship winning coach. I've never said a bad word about Gus. You said great things about Gus.
Yeah.
Gus has had some terrible years.
Yeah. Some really bad years. Yeah.
And yet Dabo, I think, had 1 year where he was barely 750. And we still shit on him 24/7.
Yeah. No, 100%. I don't know. I just think for me, when it comes to this Clemson team, like there's so much hype on Cade Klubnik going into the season, like Heisman, national championship. He's the guy. He needs to be the guy if this Clemson team is going to win. They've got all the guys around him. Maybe they don't have a thoroughbred at running back, but they have a stable of wide receivers, and up front they are just absolutely tenacious. But can he do it? Like, can he be like? He's had some great stat lines. He was a little sloppy with the ball that Texas game last year.
Yeah, he was.
But can he be the guy this year? I don't know. We're gonna see. It's gonna.
I don't think he really has to do anything crazy to outperform Nuss and the LSU Tigers. I think that the environment is going to be absolutely disgusting. That'll carry them. I think that holds a 2 or 3 point advantage when it comes to the spread. But I think they're going to lean on the run game. I think people jazz up these games so much, and they don't understand the pressure that is on these quarterbacks, that they're going to run the ball 26, 28 times. And games are going to be incredibly boring. And I'm talking as a full slate. I think Notre Dame, I think Syracuse, I think Bama, Texas, OSU, Georgia Tech, Baylor, Utah. They're all going to be running the ball way more than people think. We're not going to see 40-point games. I think majority of these games are all in the 20s.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's going to be – I think a lot of these games this weekend are going to be a lot closer.
Do you think that a loss screws Clemson and or LSU, or a loss screws Bama or Florida State for the rest of the year?
A loss hurts LSU way more than it's going to hurt Clemson, just because Clemson, I think, can just win the ACC. I think you're backwards, Johnny. No, because I think Clemson can win the ACC. So, like,
yes,
they're
exactly.
they're automatically going to get in.
If they lose to LSU – but you got to think rankings here. If they lose to LSU, who then goes 9-3 or 10-2 or 8-4, and is not that good of a team, you're going to say the championship of ACC lost to a team that's probably bottom 4 or bottom one or two in terms of who makes the playoffs out of the SEC, that's got to hurt more. This has got to mean more to
Clemson. No, it doesn't, because if they win the ACC, they're in. If LSU loses this
they could be the 12 seed. They could be the 12 seed.
But it doesn't matter. Like
yes,
who cares?
Yes,
You're in the playoff.
Yes,
no.
Well,
no, not if no. But listen to me. Let me get my point off. If you're LSU, you lose this game, your SEC schedule matters more. Now you can't lose another. Like you have the margin of error shrinks for you. Whereas if you win this game, you're going into that SEC schedule with totally. Because then if you lose,
you're backwards on this. If LSU loses, they can always say, "Hey, one of our losses was the ACC champ."
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's still a loss. Numbers matter at the end of the day. 4 losses is 4 losses. If they lose 3 in the SEC and beat Clemson, they're in. But if they
you're telling me when you and I have a show in November, Clemson's 12-0, you're not going to say, "Hey, this is our number 1 ranked team that they lost to in week 1." I know I'm going to say that. I know I'm going to say that loss doesn't matter, despite it being number 3 or 4 or 2 or 1, whatever it may be.
If it's 4, it matters. They're not going to let a 4 loss in.
I think the other 3 will matter a lot more.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying your margin for error shrinks with a loss in week 1. That has to make sense. If they lose this game, they're going into the SEC.
You make sense 100% on that, but I don't think that a loss here to Clemson really derails anything for them.
Wait, say that one more time.
I think I'm actually confusing myself now.
Yeah, wait, a loss for Clemson, it's okay because they can win the conference and get in, automatically. That's what I'm saying. Like a loss means less because it's not a conference loss. You know what I mean? They can just win. If they win the ACC, they're in.
I think you just switch places.
No. If Clemson loses, it doesn't matter because they can win the ACC and just automatically be in.
I don't know. I think I disagree with you on this one. I think that this matters. This matters a lot. Oh wait, no, excuse me. I know exactly what I'm trying to say. You got me all flustered here.
Do you?
Yes. A loss for Clemson hold on a second. A loss for Clemson means a lot more than a loss to LSU because LSU's schedule is more. It's more likely that LSU loses more games, so that loss looks a lot worse. We talk about how bad are your losses.
There's no chance it's more likely that Clemson loses more games.
I'm not saying Clemson's going to lose 4 games.
You just said that. It's more likely. Okay, we can rewind the tape. I'm pretty sure you just said it's more likely Clemson loses more games, and there's no chance. That's what I'm saying. If they lose this game, they're fine.
Hold on. Let me start over again for the 3rd time. Okay, what I am saying is that if Clemson loses this game, it is more likely that LSU goes and loses more games this year than Clemson will. Therefore, you are going to compare your wins and losses come playoff time, right? And if you have Clemson who lost 1 game and it's to LSU who lost 3 games, you're going to say that one loss is pretty bad and the ACC is terrible.
I'm talking from just a getting into the playoff perspective. But listen. This could make the difference between LSU getting in or not getting in. But
Clemson's not on that same standard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it doesn't matter, because Clemson could lose this game, win the ACC, they're in. LSU could lose this game, and it's the difference between them getting that 12th spot and not getting that 12th spot. That's what my argument is.
I think I'm a little bit wrong in assuming that Clemson's going to run the tables, even with a loss here to LSU.
That's what I'm saying.
Run the tables in that they're going to be that reflective on this loss. I get where you're coming from. We're saying that's a little bit asinine, but you have to agree with me that people are going to take a step back and say, Syracuse lost 4 games. Georgia Tech lost 3 games. Miami loses 4 games. Whatever it may be, the ACC is in shambles, and you're looking at our ACC champ, our best to offer, our filet mignon, lost to a 5th best SEC team.
How do you know they're going to be 5th best? They could be that.
I'm just being assumptive.
Yeah.
But do you get where I'm coming from? I'm going to say
I get what you're telling me.
I think I'm going to be an absolute jerk when it comes to losses, and that's where these out-of-conference losses and wins will really, really matter. And that's why I think that going back to Texas and Ohio State, this game is going to be a massive, massive indicator of who's going to get the 1, 2, or 3 in the playoffs, because it's the greatest equalizer. When you say, hey, how do we know which conference is better? Let's look at the 2 teams that have played from each other.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We have, our big muscles versus your big muscles. And the SEC won that one, so clearly the SEC is better. But getting a little bit off topic, I think that I got you on my points on that one. Moving on to Notre Dame versus Miami.
Before we go into this game, I have a point. A couple people listened to the podcast the first podcast this year, and they had a point, a reoccurring theme about, you said you were happy losing the national championship. I had a lot of people saying that's loser talk. That's loser talk. If you said to me, yeah, happy losing the national championship. I'm like, no, you can't say that. You're happy when I had two sources that will remain anonymous that said that was loser talk. Multiple people saying, you can't say you're happy losing the national championship.
It's
the goal is to win the whole thing.
It's funny because their team didn't even make the playoff, right? But yet I'm happy that a team that has underperformed since 2012, year in and year out, made the national championship and had arguably the best stretch of playoffs, best stretch of games in recent memory. Loser talk.
It is. You can't be happy losing.
There's 130. There's 134 teams in FBS, I believe. You're telling me 133 of them have to be upset at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Where are you drawing the line? Right? If Akron wins 4 games and I'm a huge Akron fan, I can be happy about that.
Hey, only one fan base gets to be happy.
No, I disagree with that. I think that, this is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Notre Dame will be getting a national championship in my lifetime. I will be there.
Is it this year? Is it this year?
I'm not putting anything on the record anymore. I'm not putting anything. No. Can you confidently say your Nittany Lions will be the national championship?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to have people run that one back because
you can
I don't want to tell you my opinion.
You can clip it because you know what? I'm going to be bold. They're going to win it. They're the best team in the country. Okay, like you said, Notre Dame, Miami. I'll give you the ball, and then I'll say what I have to say. You take off.
I think that Miami's an incredibly undisciplined team. Year in and year out, they do the exact same thing. They had a great beginning half of the year last year, but they had so many close games. I don't know. Do you remember the Virginia Tech game, Johnny?
No, I don't think so.
You do. If you Googled it, you remember. You remember?
Is that what? Yes. They won in the end. Yes.
Determined it wasn't a catch or it was a catch. I don't remember the exact details of it, but I think that Notre Dame is going to lean on their playmakers this year. I'm a little bit nervous about their defensive line. They don't have a crazy amount of talent on the interior line. Push come to shove, they might get bullied a little bit interior wise, but I'm not worried about CJ Carr. I think he's going to be really, really talented. I don't think he really, you said a good point earlier. They don't have to, what did you say? They don't have to fire up the engines. They just have to steer the boat or something like that.
Yeah. You don't have to put your foot on the brake or the gas. You just got to steer the ship.
Just steer the boat. And, I don't think that CJ Carr really has to do much. I am a little bit nervous because 13 months ago, you and I would have had Carson Beck a top 5 Heisman finisher. And by the end of the year, he was a bum who would play in semi-pro leagues. And now he's at Miami. He's getting a little bit of revitalization. Where I'm leaning Notre Dame pretty heavily, is that Miami doesn't have a returning wide receiver that had more than 400 yards last year. They got rid of all 6. All 6 went to the draft and or transfer. That is incredibly hard to compete. I don't think Miami's going to run the ball very well. I think Notre Dame's going to lean on them. I think that they're going to be bigger, stronger. I think that they're going to be more dynamic. I'm very, very excited to see this version of Notre Dame, best wide receiver core that we've seen in our adult life at Notre Dame. Great house. They got another one.
Malachi Fields.
Where is he from, Johnny?
Virginia.
He's
good. He's very good.
But he had 1,100 yards last year.
Yeah, no one's tuning into this podcast for me to agree with you on Notre Dame. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate. You picked, I think, every opportunity you got, you put Penn State as your Cheesecake Factory upset of the week.
If you pick Miami at 2.5, dude, I'm going to shove the spot. So
I'm just prefacing. No. So I just wrote a couple of things down. No, I agree. I think Notre Dame
it should be noted. I am much more sensitive about my fandom than you are.
I just want to say
I called you after I'm much more sensitive. I can't take Notre Dame slander. I make fun of Penn State 24/7. I've never seen you shed a tear.
Yeah, tough skin growing up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the exact opposite.
Hurt me. Okay.
I remember legit crying 2012 when Alabama beat the hell out of Notre Dame. I'll never forget it. I legit cried into my pillow.
I was so happy.
But
okay.
Go ahead.
No, okay. So devil's advocate. Let me just say a couple things. I think you're right. From a talent perspective and a coaching perspective, I think Notre Dame's the better team. I think their secondary is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
I do think there is a path for Miami to win, and that is what you said. They have to pick on the interior defensive line for Notre Dame. Miami has some monsters up front offensively. I think Cristobal is just leaning heavy on that offensive line. I think Francis Moagaya, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think he could be one of the best offensive linemen in the country. And Mark Fletcher is a pretty damn good running back. And I think if they're going to win this game, they have to run the ball. Because Carson Beck wasn't great last year, but what's his bread and butter? It's play action. If they can get to a point where they're ripping off if they can get consistent in the run game and they can get Carson Beck to play action, I think they're in a pretty good spot. You're right. They don't return any guys from last year that are real good pass catchers. But they got C.J. Daniels from LSU and Tony Johnson from Cincy. Not like people to write home about, but solid receivers. Receivers good enough to be good in play action. So if they can get there, I think it's going to be a game. If they can't run the ball, Notre Dame's going to run them off the field. And I think that's pretty good say. But you go.
Go ahead.
Another thing that I think they need for CJ Carr, what they need is they need Malachi Fields to be a number one. Because Greathouse and Faison are awesome, but I don't think either are like a true number one. Like I don't think, and they're awesome. Like they're awesome slot guys. They're awesome complementary guys. They need Malachi Fields to be the guy.
Malachi Fields is a jump ball guy too, though.
He's awesome. He is so good. But I think that's something that this Notre Dame offense has missed the last couple of years is like a number one receiver. And Greathouse and Faison will be awesome if Malachi Fields can take the pressure off. And they need him to be good, because not just because they have a young quarterback, just because of how good Jeremiah Love is. Because if they can't throw the ball with this young quarterback, people are just going to stack the box because of how talented Jeremiah Love is. So I think that CJ Carr needs to pass the ball efficiently early to open up Love, or else Miami's just going to put every guy in the box and they're going to really struggle. So I'm just writing this up just because no one's tuning in for me to agree with you. That's the path for Miami to win this game. But like I said, Notre Dame is just way more talented on both sides.
Johnny, can I throw two things out there for you, though?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
If Penn State and Notre Dame meet again this year.
Yes. Can we go?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame wins. You have to wear a Notre Dame sweatshirt for every Penn State game the following year. That Saturday that Penn State plays, you're wearing a Notre Dame sweatshirt.
Yeah, except from there, because I would never disrespect Happy Valley like that. I'll wear it on the podcast. Yeah.
Yo, shake it.
Yeah. We're on the podcast.
So a couple things is that we're not talking about is that Miami's biggest weak point was their defense last year. They were letting up 40 points to some of the worst teams in the ACC.
Oh yeah, they were bad defensively.
Their
secondary got better. Their secondary
they did. Better. Their personnel got better, and they're bringing in the coach from Minnesota, who's a really good defensive coordinator. But they're going to have to. We're talking. They need to make light years of advancements to be able to be even competitive. I don't think that people are talking enough about that how easy it might be for Notre Dame to score. And, if their defense is even 50% better, I think Notre Dame could still hang up 35 on them.
I don't know CJ Carr enough. I haven't watched him enough. But
I watched the spring game.
One thing I wanted to ask you was Riley Leonard last year. Him being dual threat was kind of the straw that stirred the drink for that offense. Do you worry that they leaned on that so heavy that can CJ Carr run the same way?
He's not nearly as fast.
But do we worry that was such a huge part of the offense? Like, look at that national championship. That first drive, I think Riley Leonard might have ran it 11 times. Like, do you worry at all that they're going to have to be so different, like identity wise?
No, because I think it's actually going to be better. He's a gunslinger, and people always say this when it's a first year starter. Rumor has it, Caleb
Williams.
Yes, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence's quarterback's coach, also coached CJ Carr, said he's just as good as either of them. And people always come out and say that stuff when you've been named the starter. But, I think that if anything, we don't need to lean on Riley Leonard's run game that much because we have two really, really talented running backs with the second best running back core in college football with Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, right behind Nick Singleton and who am I thinking of?
Allen.
Tron Allen. Yeah, and
Blonde boys.
So I think that the we're not going to need them to run the ball. Anytime that we need those short yardages, those draws, those hesitation, the counters, we're just going to lean on our two running backs. But I think it's going to get opened up. I don't think that we're going to be running 22 personnel all that much. I'd be expecting two wide a lot. I think that we're going to see a lot more of a spread offense with CJ Carr. He's not mobile, but he's got an absolute cannon. So those quick short throws, he's going to be incredibly accurate. Those deep balls, he's going to be incredibly accurate. It's going to be a tough environment. The weather's supposed to be really cruddy, which goes to favor in Notre Dame's favor.
Yeah, running the ball, yeah.
But I think, going to Miami, we're a 2.5-point favorite. I think that's easy.
I just think, like, especially with the weather, like, this is going to be a blast from the past. Two teams, both are just going to want to run the ball. Like, it's going to be.
Quarterback stats are going to be like 7 for 18, 39 yards.
Yeah. But, like, kind of, that's like going back. That was kind of Carson Beck at Georgia. Pound the ball and then, like, just get a couple X plays throwing on play action. But we'll see. I think that's going to be a great game.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's Sunday night, too. That's amazing.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Any other games you want to talk about? Syracuse, Tennessee?
Yeah, I love Syracuse, Tennessee. Tennessee is a very confusing team. I think that spread is massively overrated. I think that Syracuse, I'm just going to throw this out there. That's my Cheesecake Factory pick of the week. I think that Syracuse can go into Tennessee and upset them. I think Syracuse is improved. They're going to be one of those teams very similar to Wisconsin, very similar to Cincinnati, maybe even Nebraska, where they're a really, really talented team. USC, their win-loss schedule is just not going to show it. I think that Syracuse is going to be a really talented team. They have a super hard schedule in the ACC. I think they've played like 4 out of the top 10. They also play Notre Dame. They play. I think they're at Pitt. I think they're at Clemson. They have a couple other ones that are just incredibly hard games. But I'm excited to see my boy Steve. I think he's going to look great in that orange. I think he's going to do great with that coach. I really don't think that Tennessee is going to live up to it. Tennessee last year really didn't play that well. They were another result of a fairly easy schedule. Losses to Arkansas. They lost to Ole Miss, I believe, and then one other.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So it's interesting. I just don't think Tennessee's going to improve the way that they lost a lot on the defense. They're not replacing that much on the offense. Lost their starting running back. I don't even know who their quarterback is off the top of my head. Also, Johnny, I just checked this before you started. Dude, guess what the South Florida Boise State score is?
What's up? Well, I was 10-7 when we started filming. What is it now?
Guess what it is now?
No
31-7 South Florida.
Wow.
Everyone who bet Boise State to make the playoffs was so foolish. Just
I did like their quarterback. I thought their quarterback looked good last year, but I don't know.
Matthew Madsen, right?
Yeah. I thought he was pretty good.
I'm telling you, I think the dark horse of the Group 5 is Navy.
Yeah, Navy looks great. Going back to Syracuse, Tennessee, I do love Cuse. I love Fran Brown. I think he's going to do great things at Syracuse. I just think it's too hard this year because he inherited such a veteran group of guys. They're losing 9 starters offensively. Like Kyle McCord, all 3 top receivers, LaQuint Allen, their running back, and then like 4 offensive linemen. I think that's just too much to account for. I do like Steve Angeli. I think he should be starting in South Bend. I think it's a tragedy.
I don't understand how that's even possible.
What
that happens between January 31st in April?
Like, I don't know. I know
winter lifts.
I don't know. He just did not have a good mat drill session.
No. Bunch needs improvement.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think Syracuse is on the rise. Like, I think they're going to be a good team in the ACC the next 5 years. I just think it's too much. I do like the Tennessee's quarterback, Joey Aguilera. I think he played some really good ball at App State last year. I don't think they're
he's at UCLA.
No. Nico's at UCLA. Joey
Aguilera. The UCLA quarterback transferred to Tennessee, and Nico transferred to UCLA, and they basically just swapped.
Yeah, but I think Joey Aguilera is going to start the App State guy. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but I think he's going to start. I just think Tennessee's too talented. I think Syracuse lost too much. So I do think Tennessee's going to win. And I think Josh Heupel is a hell of a coach.
I do. I think he's an incredible coach. I just really hope that he's able to put it together. His recruiting has been a little bit subpar for what the SEC is. It's a tougher place to recruit in the SEC. Johnny, as we're coming to a conclusion here, I want to go to two other segments. We have our parlay picks of the week. These are picks that we are very, very confident on. They're not going to go on to any metrics except just provide some money to our listeners. Anyone who is listening, take out a second mortgage, refinance your truck, take your child's college funds, put it on these parlays, and I guarantee you'll have some money coming back at you. To start, I think I have truly a lock. Don't tell my wife I put 100,000 on it. Cashed out my retirement. I have Utah minus 5.5 against UCLA. I was reading up on UCLA being one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. Bar none. I've heard that they had an incredibly weird preseason where they barely practiced, very limited physical contact within practices. Wide receivers are barely playing. Give me Utah and a touchdown. You kidding me? Yeah. Love Utah there. I'm kind of drinking the Baylor Kool-Aid here a little bit. I don't like Hugh Freeze. I don't like Auburn. John, it's he's the old quarterback from Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
I think that Baylor went and ended the year, I think, with 6 wins last year. They're going to be building on that. I love them as a little bit of an underdog. We got plus 115 there, taking that money line. So I have Utah minus 5.5, Baylor money line. Obviously, go Irish. Give me that money line there. You could even take the spread. I don't think it's going to be 3 points. I think it's going to be 6+. And then I love Georgia Tech money line against Colorado. I don't think Colorado's got the talent this year to compete. 1-2 minus 200 for Georgia Tech is just such easy money. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-point game. It doesn't matter if it's a 30-point game. I like Georgia Tech there. I think that they're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, somewhere that Deion has struggled year in and year out to improve on. This parlay is plus 937. So you bet 10, you win $103.70. I think that return on investment is miraculous. I truly don't see where this goes wrong. My Auburn Baylor pick is the only one that I'm a little bit skeptical because I don't follow Auburn. I'm just a hater. You never should bet with your gut. You should always just use stats on that one. But I do think that Baylor gets that win. You could even do Utah minus 5.5, Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. I think it pays 4.5 to 1. I still think that's great value.
Okay, I did mine kind of on the fly. Moving forward, I'll be better with my parlay, but I did mine right before the podcast. It's a small one. It's only plus 386. Still a pretty good chunk of change right there.
Yep.
Bet responsibly. But I call this the Carolina parlay. I am going Clemson minus 4 against LSU. This team is way too talented to lose this game. All Cade has to do is steer. We'll see if he can steer. But that.
What do you predict the score to be on that game, Johnny?
Well, I'm betting a minus 4, so I hopefully they win by 5. I'm gonna say I think it'll be like Clemson 31, LSU 24.
Yeah, I think you're spot on that. I would even say that LSU could be in the teens, and that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Ness. I just think he's going to struggle this game. Clemson's defense is going to get after him. Then I will do South Carolina money line against Virginia Tech. Lenore Sellers, all the hypes around him. Dylan
that line's Stewart. Closer than I thought.
Yeah, it is closer. But I think Dylan Stewart, that defense is going to get after Virginia Tech. And I don't know. I think they're going to win. Finally, I don't know how I feel about this one. I got to do it for my guy, Matt. UNC plus 3.5 going against TCU. Weird on a Monday night. I have no idea how to feel about this team. Obviously, Belichick, his resume speaks for itself in the pros. Kind of a zoo right now, him and his girlfriend. And they've got like 70 new guys on the team. I have no idea what to expect. I just really think that there's been this weird hangover around Sonny Dykes and TCU ever since the national championship. I think there's too many good teams in the Big 12 this year for them to kind of hang around. I think they're kind of in like a dangerous spot into becoming like irrelevant in that Big 12. I think a lot of teams are on the ascent, and not everyone can be on the ascent in a conference, as you know. So I think they're kind of coming downhill. So I think UNC gets a flashy win that first game. I think that, and so I'm taking them plus 3.5. They're underdogs right there.
It's funny because I remember when you and I first really started talking college football is when TCU was on the uprise, and you and I would talk about how much does a championship run increase your brand in your recruiting over the next couple of years. And we're already seeing that kind of fall off with TCU.
I think you get that, but the way they lost in that game, I think left such a
I don't know how much it
taste.
even really helped them in the end of the day.
Exactly. Like if they just, everyone like they just forfeited the national championship after they beat Michigan. I think that helps them. The way they lost was brutal, and I think there's just like this bad cloud around that team. Not that I don't know, but in UNC is such a question mark. Like Belichick's a good coach, but 70 new guys is insane on a roster.
Yeah, that is.
So I have no idea.
It's not the first time we've seen it though. Colorado, Dion did it against TCU a couple years ago, stunned the world. That was awesome to watch.
I like him better than Sonny Dykes too. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't love TCU.
I would like to believe that the greatest college football or NFL coach in history would be able to figure out a way to outcoach Sonny Dykes. But they named their starter on Monday, which is very, very surprising. We have a couple games tonight, Johnny. Just going to mention those. We have Nebraska's heading to Cincinnati, a really tough spot for
starting in 5 minutes.
The Cornhuskers there. I think that is an upset spot. Dylan Raiola looks to grow. A lot of people have Nebraska in one of those situations that Illinois and Indiana are in, where they have an incredibly easy schedule. I don't think it's as easy as Michigan and or Illinois, but I do think that this is a tricky spot on a Thursday night.
Weird. Yeah, like it's crazy that we got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday college football. Like it's
I'm calling out of work. I can't go to work, and I need to be focusing on all this football.
Oh, yeah, I'm locked in tonight to Nebraska. But you're right.
We're going to go through our couple games, Johnny. Just for our viewers, we go through and we do a hypothetical. Johnny and I don't bet. $10 on each game. We'll add them up, see if we make money at the end of the year. We have 5 games that I wanted to focus on, Johnny. We'll add as many as you want on this one. So hypothetically, you'd be gambling $50 on these games. We're going to add them up over the course of the 12, 13, 14 weeks of the season, see if you would have made money if you bet $10 across the board. We have Texas and Ohio State. Ohio State's currently minus 0.5. We have Syracuse versus Tennessee. Tennessee's 13.5. Bama's minus 14 against Florida State. LSU is going to Clemson. They're minus 4. Notre Dame's minus 2.5 versus Miami. Johnny, any games you want to add to that?
No, I like that, but just when you say it to me, I might differ a little bit on the spread. So just say the spread to me as we go.
Yeah. So we're going to start with Texas and Ohio State. This line has moved, I think, a full point in the last 24 hours. Ohio State is a slight favorite. It's practically a pick 'em. They're minus half a point, so it's a 24-23 type game. They cover. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Ohio State. All the reasons said before. I think that defense is good. I love Texas defense also, but I just think the talent around Julian Sainz enough to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to fade you on that one. We're going to differ the first game of week 1. I think that Texas gets this win. I think that they're angry enough to be there. This has the same vibe as when Texas beat Bama in Bama a couple years ago, where Quinn Ewers threw that touchdown, that seam pass right over the safety. Mm-hmm. It was a beautiful, beautiful play. I think that Texas gets this win. Archie starts his Heisman campaign, going to be the number 1 overall. Give me those Longhorns. Okay. Syracuse at Tennessee. Tennessee's a minus 13.5 point favorite. I've already mentioned I like Syracuse in this one. They are my Cheesecake Factory pick of the week. I think that they're going to be a really talented Stephen Jelly, like we said, is a great quarterback. I don't think they can actually win this game, but I do think that the value is there. I'm going to take Syracuse on this one.
I'm going to take Tennessee. I just think Cuse, as I said, is just too new. Like losing 9 stars in offense is too much. I like Fran Brown, but I just think it's too much. I think Tennessee's a little too talented on both sides of the ball.
We have Alabama is going to Florida State. Florida State is looking to make a comeback after a 2-10 season. Bama's looking to grow on their 9-4. Quite a disappointing season. They are minus 14. That line has not moved at all in the last 3 months. I got to take Bama on this spot. I think that Florida State puts up a really good fight in the first quarter, maybe even the first half of the second quarter. But I think Bama's going to be too big and too strong. I don't think that this is any indication of what Bama will have in store for the rest of the year, but I do think that they just have Florida State's number today.
Yeah, I think we got like a 10-7 game after the first quarter, and then Bama just runs away with it. So I agree. I think Bama's just too strong on both sides. I
don't think we even need to talk about the next one, Johnny. You and I are both taking Clemson minus 4. I would take Clemson minus 6.5. I would give them the full touchdown here. I think that this is truly a national championship team. It will not surprise me if Clemson's in the Natty. It will not surprise me if Penn State's in the Natty. 2 teams that just bring so much experience. And history always repeats itself. Teams that have experience and good coaches always just they don't choke the way Notre Dame did against Northern Illinois or Marshall. There's just too much experience there. They just don't let it happen.
Yeah.
We are heading down to Miami. Notre Dame versus Miami. Notre Dame is a minus 2.5 point favorite. Obviously, I will never bet against my Fighting Irish. I love the new logo. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the fists up. I miss the fists
up. I like the kind of Heisman looking, leg up that they have now, kind of like he's running into the end zone. I think it's a great update without losing the historic portion of Notre Dame. But like I said, I think Notre Dame is going to be too big, too strong. I don't think this moment is too big for them. I think that's the contrary of Miami. I think that this moment's going to be too big. The pressure's too large. Notre Dame always comes out ready to play. They beat a very decently powered Texas A&M last year at Kyle Field, handled them pretty handsomely. I just don't think Miami can keep up.
Yeah, no. To your credit, that was a big win in Kyle Field last year.
Yeah, it was.
I think that was, but I think they had the veteran quarterback leading the show. Riley Leonard had played a lot of college football at that point. He didn't get riled in that spot. I want to go back a couple days, Sunday, just trying to get ready for the week. Nice, peaceful day. Played some softball in the morning. And then I just get a barrage of paragraphs text about how my co-host of this podcast is no longer believing in my Penn State Nittany Lions. Pissed me off, and it makes my Cheesecake Factory pick of the week a hell of a lot easier. I'm taking Miami. Get Carson Beck in the play action pass, and they can win this game. It's going to be too hot for Notre Dame. They haven't felt this heat all summer.
That is as sleazy as it gets, Jonathan.
No, it's not, because as I said earlier, you picked against Penn State. So many cheesecake picks that I was going to Illinois, Penn State. I told you I was going to scream as loud as I can. You still took the Fighting Illini. I'm taking the Hurricanes. Catholics versus convicts. Give me the convicts.
I know deep down that is just a big FU. You don't actually believe Miami's winning this game. I know that's true. I like to razz you about Penn State, but I'll be the first one to throw on a Penn State sweatshirt.
That is crazy. This is crazy to hear right now.
I'm just gaslighting. I expected more. I expected you to have a little bit more integrity. Just in absolute disbelief. Texas Ohio State, I think, starts off the weekend. They're the 12 o'clock game, correct?
Yeah.
It's going to be absolutely amazing.
I'm so excited.
I cannot wait for 4 days of football. Moving forward, we'll be posting our next episode Monday night, Johnny, correct?
After we're going to go. Yeah.
Following that, we'll do mostly Sundays. We're going to do a really good in-depth review of all the games, not just the 5 or 6 that we picked. We're going to be doing a quick preview of the following week. Week 2 is generally a little bit of a dud, but there's going to be so much football to uncover. There's going to be Heisman talks. There's going to be undefeated talks, national championship talks. There's going to be so much to go over.
Awesome. I'm so pumped. Pumped.
Best of luck to you in your Hurricanes. And I will see you on Monday.
See you later.